The rain had just stopped when David parked his old pickup near the orphanage gate. The sound of water dripping from the rooftop mixed with the faint laughter of children playing inside the yard. He sat there for a moment, staring at the building with tired eyes, hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel. His wrist peeked out from beneath his worn leather jacket, revealing a faded tattoo of a bluebird and the name Emily written below it. It had been years since anyone had spoken that name aloud, but the memory of it still burned inside him like an open wound. He came here every month, donating supplies and fixing broken furniture, trying to fill an emptiness that had never left since his wife disappeared 8 years ago. He never imagined that this day, a simple visit to drop off toys, would change everything he thought he knew about his life. Backhand index pointing right before the story unfolds. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul Tale, the place where every story touches your heart. As David walked through the courtyard, children ran past him, laughing and chasing bubbles. The sound was cheerful, but his heart felt heavy. He handed a box of toys to the caretaker, a woman named Mrs. Grace, who smiled warmly and thanked him. "You always bring joy here, Mr. David," she said. He nodded quietly, brushing off her gratitude. For him, these visits were not about kindness, they were penance. While repairing a loose window hinge in one of the playrooms, he heard a small, curious voice behind him. "Hello, sir," the girl said softly. David turned around and saw a little girl about 6 years old standing with a stuffed rabbit in her arms. Her hair was a tangled mess of chestnut curls, her dress slightly too big, and her eyes, a clear, deep shade of green, seemed to hold a world of untold stories. "Hello there," David replied gently. "What's your name?" She hesitated, then said, "Lily." He smiled. "That's a beautiful name." Lily walked closer, studying him carefully. Then, with childlike innocence, she pointed at his wrist. "My mother has a tattoo just like yours," she said. David froze, the screwdriver slipping from his hand and clattering to the floor. For a second, the room seemed to stop breathing. He looked down at his tattoo, then back at her. "What did you say?" he whispered. "My mother," Lily repeated. "She had a bird just like that and the same word, Emily." The name hit him like a bolt of lightning. He sank onto the floor, his heartbeat racing. For years, he had lived with the torment of not knowing what happened to Emily after she vanished one stormy night. The police had found her car by the riverbank, but no sign of her body. People assumed the worst. He had mourned, cried, raised hope only to lose it again. But now, a little girl stood before him claiming her mother bore the same mark, the same secret that only Emily and he shared. Mrs. Grace walked in and saw David pale as a ghost. Concerned, she asked if he was all right. He nodded weakly, eyes fixed on Lily. "Can I ask where she came from?" he asked, his voice shaking. Mrs. Grace sighed softly. "Lily was brought here 3 years ago. Her mother, she never returned. They said she left the child at a small shelter in another town. There wasn't much information, no full name, just the name Emily written on a piece of paper inside the girl's bag." David's world spun. He asked if he could see Lily's records, and after some hesitation, Mrs. Grace allowed him to check the old files. His hands trembled as he opened the faded folder. There it was, a photograph of a young woman's hand holding a newborn, and though her face wasn't visible, the familiar curve of that bluebird tattoo on her wrist was unmistakable. Stepped outside, the cold air stinging his eyes. Memories flooded back, Emily laughing as she painted that same bluebird on his arm, telling him it symbolized freedom and hope. She had always been the dreamer while he was the realist. Their love had been beautiful but messy, and when life became hard, she had fallen apart. He remembered the fights, her tears, the night she said she needed to leave to find herself. He thought she had run away, maybe to escape the pain, but now maybe something else had happened. He returned to the orphanage every day after that, drawn to Lily as if she carried pieces of the past he had lost. She would tell him stories about her dreams, how she wanted to have a garden one day, how she loved birds because her mother said they always find their way home. The more he listened, the more certain he became. This little girl wasn't a stranger. She was the echo of Emily, her laughter, her soul reborn in small and innocent ways. Days turned into weeks. David tried to gather any lead about Emily's disappearance, visiting towns, shelters, even hospitals. He discovered that Emily had indeed lived under a different name for a few years after leaving him. She had been struggling with depression and survival, working odd jobs, trying to care for Lily alone. One winter night, she fell ill and was taken to a clinic, but by the time anyone realized who she was, it was too late. She had left behind nothing but a small note with her child's name and a plea: "Please find her a good home. Tell her I loved her." When David found that note, tears broke through the dam he had built over 8 years. He sat in his truck for hours, clutching the paper, whispering Emily's name into the silence. The guilt crushed him. If only he had searched harder, forgiven sooner, understood her pain better. But now he had one thing left of her, one reason to keep going. He returned to the orphanage and sat with Lily under the oak tree where she liked to play. The evening light filtered through the branches, casting soft shadows around them. She was drawing birds in her notebook. "Do you like birds that much?" he asked with a shaky smile. "Yes," she said brightly. "My mommy said they're free. She said when she sees one, she thinks of love." David's eyes welled up. He wanted to tell her everything, but he couldn't yet, not until he was sure he could give her a home, a life she deserved. Began the long process of adoption. The officials were cautious at first, but his sincerity, his background checks, and the story that connected them slowly built trust. The day he was approved, he stood outside the orphanage with a small gift in his hand, a necklace with a little bluebird pendant, the same design Emily used to wear. When Lily ran to him, he knelt down and gently placed it around her neck. "This belonged to someone very special," he whispered. "Someone who loved you more than anything." She looked at him with those deep green eyes, a spark of recognition or fate glimmering there. "Like my mommy?" she asked. He smiled through his tears. "Exactly like